Once, in a quiet village nestled between the mountains, there lived a young and beautiful woman named May. She was known throughout the land for her kindness, gentle nature, charming smile, and wisdom, qualities that made her the pride of her family and community. Her marriage to Yul, a well-respected man in the village, seemed like a fairy tale. They had built a home together, and in their hearts, there was a shared dream of a peaceful life. May bore Yul children, and their love appeared unshakable, a bond forged through years of shared moments, struggles, and triumphs. Together, they represented the ideal union, one based on mutual respect, love, and devotion. But as with all stories, the tides of fate had other plans. Over time, Yul began to change. What had once been a partnership of equality and trust began to feel one-sided. Yul, once a devoted husband, began to find solace in the arms of another woman, Judy Austin, a striking and ambitious actress who lived on the outskirts of the village, slowly captured Yul's attention. Unbeknownst to May, their relationship grew in secret, a betrayal that would soon turn May's serene world upside down. As months passed, Yul's strange behavior became more evident. He grew distant, his eyes often clouded with an emotion May could not decipher. She tried to ignore the unsettling feeling that gripped her heart, hoping that the strain between them would eventually pass. But one fateful day, May overheard a conversation between Yul and a close friend. It was there she learned of Yul's relationship with Judy, a revelation that shattered her trust and sent waves of sorrow through her soul. She confronted Yul, but he denied the affair at first, only to later admit to his betrayal. The realization cut deeply. May had always believed in the strength of her marriage, but now she stood on the precipice of uncertainty. Her heart was torn between the love she still had for Yul and the betrayal that now tainted their once beautiful relationship. She retreated into herself, seeking solace in solitude, hoping that the storm in her heart would calm. But little did she know, the storm was only beginning, and it would test not just her marriage but her very spirit. The tragic loss. It was in the midst of this turmoil that fate dealt its cruelest blow. May, already fragile from the emotional strain of Yul's betrayal, suffered the unbearable loss of their firstborn son. The child, whom they had both cherished and raised with love, passed away suddenly, leaving May grief-stricken and broken. Yul, now fully enmeshed in his new life with Judy, seemed distant and unfeeling in the face of their loss. His absence, both emotional and physical, left May to cope with her grief alone. The loss of a child is a pain few can understand, but for May, it was a wound so deep that it threatened to swallow her whole. She began to question the very foundation of her marriage, wondering how her husband could be so detached from her pain. The woman who had once been the epitome of grace and strength now found herself facing the darkest moments of her life. But even in the depths of her despair, May found a flicker of determination. She knew that she could not remain in a marriage that no longer brought her peace, a marriage that had been tainted by betrayal and neglect. It was time to take control of her own destiny. The decision to file for divorce was not an easy one for May. She had spent years building a life with Yul, and the thought of tearing that apart filled her with dread. But as the months passed and Yul's actions continued to erode her trust, May realized that staying in the marriage was no longer an option. She filed for divorce, citing adultery as the primary reason. Her lawyer, a renowned practitioner named Michael Falani, prepared a case that would seek not only the dissolution of their marriage, but also compensation for the emotional toll Yul and Judy's actions had cost her. The legal proceedings were long and painful, as May was forced to relive the betrayal and loss that had haunted her. Yul, seemingly unaffected by the turmoil, continued to flaunt his relationship with Judy on social media. May's decision to stand firm in her pursuit of justice justice led many to criticize her, but the strength of her conviction only grew stronger. She was no longer the timid woman who had once stood by her husband's side. She had become a force to be reckoned with. The fight for justice. As May's divorce proceedings continued, she faced mounting public scrutiny. Many in the village whispered behind her back, judging her for standing up for herself. Some believed that divorce was a sign of weakness and inability to fight for a family, but May remained resolute. She was not advocating for separation, she explained, but for peace of mind and emotional well-being. She had given all she had to her marriage, and now it was time to rebuild her life on her own terms. May's lawsuit against Yul and Judy for emotional distress added another layer to her battle. She demanded compensation for the pain she had endured as a result of their affair. The public's reaction was mixed, with some supporting May's quest for justice, while others criticized her for not keeping the marriage intact. But through it all, May remained focused on what was best for her own healing. She knew that this battle was not just about her marriage, but about reclaiming her life and her sense of self-worth. She would not allow Yul or Judy to define her. A new beginning. Months turned into years, and May's journey toward healing slowly began to take shape. She sought counsel, found comfort in her friends, and allowed herself to grieve in her own time. The village, once quick to judge her, began to see her strength. May was no longer a woman defined by her husband's actions. She was a woman of resilience, of courage, and of deep wisdom. Her name became synonymous with overcoming hardship, and the whispers that had once been filled with judgment were now filled with admiration. Yul, on the other hand, continued to live his life with Judy. Unfazed by the fallout from his marriage to May, the couple had children together, but the joy they found in their new life was not shared by all. Many whispered that Yul had lost something precious in his pursuit of happiness with Judy, something that could never be replaced. May, however, was content in her own journey. She had not only survived the heartbreak but had also found a deeper understanding of herself and the world around her. The support of the people. As May's story spread beyond her village, she became a beacon of strength for others who had endured similar trials. Women from all walks of life reached out to her, sharing their own stories of betrayal, loss, and renewal. May became an advocate for those who had been silenced, a voice for the oppressed, and a symbol of courage. She knew that her journey was not over, but she was no longer the woman who had suffered in silence. She had reclaimed her voice and was ready to use it to help others find their way. Her story also touched the hearts of many men who had witnessed the devastation caused by Yul's actions. Some, too, began to question the roles they played in their own marriages, realizing that trust, respect, and communication were the foundations upon which any relationship should be built. Through May's journey, many had learned the true meaning of loyalty and love. May's life after the divorce was one of quiet resilience. It had been months since she filed for the divorce, and though her legal battle was still ongoing, she found solace in the simple things. She immersed herself in her community work, helping those in need, and finding peace in the stillness of nature. Her once bustling home, shared with Yul, now felt like a place of refuge, a sanctuary for healing. As May spent more time reflecting on her life, she realized that her strength did not come from the people around her, nor from the validation of others. It came from within. She had faced the most harrowing loss any mother could endure, and yet she had risen from it. The emotional scars were still there, but they no longer defined her. May knew that to move forward, she needed to forgive not Yul or Judy, but herself. She had to forgive herself for staying in a relationship that no longer served her, for putting others' needs above her own, and for allowing herself to be diminished by the weight of her grief. The more she forgave herself, the lighter her heart became. It was a long, slow process, but May was beginning to heal. The burden of public opinion. Despite her personal growth, May found herself constantly under the microscope of public opinion. The people of the village, once quick to judge her for her marriage's collapse, were now starting to show their support. They admired her courage, her quiet dignity, and her ability to persevere through the storm, but there were still whispers, and those whispers often became a burden she had to bear. May was constantly reminded that public opinion could be both a source of strength and a source of pain. It was difficult to silence the voices that criticized her for seeking justice, for demanding respect, and for not tolerating betrayal. Some believed she should have forgiven Yul and accepted his second wife, Judy. They didn't understand the emotional toll that infidelity and betrayal can take on a person, especially when compounded by the loss of a child. Yet others, especially women who had experienced similar heartbreaks, rallied around her, offering their support and comfort. May found that, while she couldn't control what people thought, she could control how she responded. She chose not to let their opinions define her worth. Instead, she focused on what truly mattered: her children, her peace, and her purpose. The battle for her children. One of the most difficult aspects of May's divorce was the custody battle. Yul, now fully entrenched in his new life with Judy, had sought to share custody of their children. May, however, was determined to protect her children from the emotional chaos that had engulfed her marriage. She feared that Yul's new relationship with Judy might affect the stability and well-being of their children. The court battle was lengthy and emotionally charged. May fought not out of spite but out of a deep, instinctual need to protect her children. She knew that their well-being had to come first. Yul, on the other hand, seemed indifferent to the emotional needs of his children. Consumed by his own new family, Judy, too, played a role in this drama, as she had been a mother figure to Yul's children for some time, but her presence in the children's lives was seen by many as a constant reminder of betrayal. May's legal team worked tirelessly to ensure that the children were placed in a stable, loving environment, free from the toxicity of their father's choices. The court ultimately ruled in her favor, granting her full custody of the children, but the battle had taken its toll on her. May knew that while she had won the legal fight, the emotional toll of constantly defending herself and her children was something she would carry for years to come. A place of peace, with the court battles behind her, May began to focus on building a life that was entirely her own. She had learned, through all the pain, the importance of peace, inner peace, familial peace, and peace with the world around her. She found herself drawn to spiritual practices that brought her comfort, such as meditation and prayer. The quiet hours of the morning, when the world was still, became her sanctuary. She spent more time with her children, watching them grow and flourish. Their laughter, their curiosity, and their love reminded her that life, though sometimes cruel, could also be filled with joy. May was determined to ensure that her children would never experience the same heartbreak she had endured. She raised them with love, instilling in them the values of kindness, loyalty, and resilience. Though her heart still bore scars, May felt a sense of peace that she hadn't known in years. The woman who had once been overwhelmed by grief was now finding her way again. She wasn't the same person she had been before, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Through her trials, she had discovered a new strength, and with it, a new hope for the future. Yul's regret. Yul's life, meanwhile, was not as perfect as he had imagined. While he and Judy shared two children together and presented a united front, the weight of his actions hung heavily on him. Yul had always been a man of pride, and admitting any wrongs was a concept foreign to him. But as time went on, he began to feel the emptiness that came with his choices. His relationship with Judy was not as fulfilling as he had hoped. There was an underlying tension between them that neither could deny, and Yul often found himself questioning his decisions. Deep down, Yul knew he had made a terrible mistake by betraying May, the woman who had stood by him for so many years. The guilt began to gnaw at him, and though he never expressed it outwardly, he started to distance himself from Judy, Their children were growing older, and they began to ask questions about why their family was not like the others. Yul had no answers for them, and the silence between him and Judy grew louder. As the days passed, Yul began to realize that the life he had built with Judy could never replace the bond he had once shared with May, but it was too late. The damage had been done. May had moved on, and though Yul regretted his choices, he knew there was no way to undo the hurt he had caused. The power of forgiveness. May's life continued to unfold in unexpected ways. Despite the pain and trauma, she began to find solace in the act of forgiveness. Forgiveness, she realized, was not about condoning the wrongs others had done to her. It was about freeing herself from the shackles of anger and resentment. One day, after a long period of introspection, May realized she had forgiven Yul, not for his sake, but for hers. She no longer needed to carry the weight of his betrayal. The anger, once so overwhelming, began to fade. This was not to say that May would ever return to him, but she had freed herself from the grip of her past. The more she forgave, the more peaceful her heart became. May's story became a testament to the power of healing, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually. She had overcome betrayal, loss, and heartache, and had come out stronger on the other side. Now, with her children by her side and a heart full of forgiveness, May was ready to embrace whatever came next.
Feel free to comment below. Let's share our opinion on this matter. Lots of African women go through this in their marriages but never make it out victoriously. Watch out for part 2. You don't want to ever miss out on this emotional thriller tale. Highlights of what you should expect in part 2 of this video is Yul's self-reflection, return of a friend, a fateful encounter, and many more. So if you haven't subscribed, please do well to hit the subscription button, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified immediately the video is dropped. Thanks.